Hello, everybody. This is your DM. This is your boy. This is your life partner. This is your dad. Rohit. What this video is going to be about is just about the general how the game works. You know, this isn't a. This is kind of a homebrew system, and I kind of forgot that it was a homebrew system, and everybody in the player party knows how it works, but I guess the children might not if I don't explain it to them in IRL, and I'm never gonna make a player's handbook because I don't got the motivation for that bullshit. So, this is just a brief explanation on how the system of Avera works. I'm probably just gonna call it the Avera system. So the Avera system is it borrows from a lot of RPGs. Like instead of a D20, it uses 2d6s or two dice, which is similar to Powered by the Apocalypse, but Powered by the Apocalypse is very stringent in that it's like 7 or higher. That's it, baby. I just like the 2d6 just because the D20 is too random for my taste. So how it works is you roll anything you're doing, literally anything, you know, or role-playing related, or skill related, or anything. I mean, anything that you would roll for in any RPG game normally is, or how it would work normally, is you roll and you check against how hard it is. Same thing, same concept here. You roll 2d6, and depending on how hard the action they're doing is, what they have to roll or beat, right? So a 7 is generally considered a medium difficulty thing. If a character is rolling in a situation with something to do with their class or character occupation, you know, you get bonuses to that, and it's just a flat bonus. There's no like, what skill is this? Is it specifically? I mean, there can be that if they want to, but it's just their class. It's all encompassing in the system. So they just roll 2d6. If it's a 7 or higher, they're a +2. You know, they match it. If they get a 7, they do the thing. Simple. Yada. Yata. What's a little, and of course there's also advantage and disadvantage. So you roll 3d6, pick the 2 highest, 3d6, pick the 2 lowest, and there's super versions of that. 46, pick the 2 highest, 46, pick the 2 lowest. What I haven't explained is actually there's also called a partial success, where it's if something is 7 hard to succeed, or 7 is the difficulty rating to succeed, 6 is a success, but there's a drawback to the success, right? It's not a complete success. And with that system in mind, that's just for any role in general. Combat specifically, I'll talk about because it does have a little bit extra on top of just rolling, right? So every character has a difficulty rating, the number that they players have to beat to do a thing against them, right? In close combat, it's called CQC-DR, close combat DR difficulty rating. There's range difficulty rating, which is generally lower than close combat DR. Unless, you know, somebody has a situation where they're holding a tower shield or something like that, you know. And a magic difficulty rating, which is how adept they are at magic. And then divine magic is like a subset of that. In my world, anyways. That's divine magic is just a different source of magic that they power spells with. So you know, look at my beautiful knee, you know. How it works is you roll against their DR, and then they get a defensive roll against your DR. So I'll set up an example. 2 fighters are fighting against each other. One fighter has 10 CQC, the other one has 7 CQC. One's clearly better than the other at close quarter combat, right? The one with 10 CQC is the one that's attacking first, right? An initiative order is still the exact same that in any traditional RPG, tabletop RPG. It's you all roll off for initiative and it goes step by step by step by step, repeat step by step by step by step. Step by step by step by step. I might not have enunciated that. So the 10 CQC fighter attacks this 7 CQC fighter. How that works is, say the 10 CQC fighter is the player character, and he gets a +3 because that's his like main profession is fighting. 2d6 +3, and he rolls higher than a 7. How we're rolling it is the ties go to the runner, not the hitter, aka the person defending wins ties. So if their CQC is 7, you need an 8 or higher to beat it. And there's no partial success in combat like this. It's just straight up, you do it or you don't. Magic is a little bit less cut and dry, but for close combat for like close combat, non-magic related close combat or ranged attacks, it's you have to draw a line where it's like, but when it comes to skill checks and magic, there is partial success, unless like the role play calls for it. But god damn it, sorry, going longer than I wanted to. So how it works is he rolls 2d6 +3. Let's say he rolls an 8, or rolls a 5 +3 is an 8. That's higher than the 7. The person defending then gets a defensive roll, and if he's also a fighter, he has his own bonus. And let's say his own bonus is a +1, because he's a fighter, and this is a close combat situation, so he would get his fighter bonus. So he rolls 2d6, and he rolls an 11, which is higher than the other person's CQC. They get to mitigate the damage that comes through. Now, if it's just a normal auto attack that does 1 damage, and I'll get into conditions in a different video. Basically, everything the numbers are scrunched. People only do 1 damage or 2 damage at a time, or higher level things will do even more. But for the purposes of this example, on an auto attack, quote, does 1 damage, and if you roll a defensive roll against it, it negates that 1 damage. So there's this back and forth roll between your own stat versus their stat, and then your own bonuses versus their CQC, and then their own bonuses versus your CQC to defend. And that's exactly how ranged and magic works there. So you roll 2d6, you add your magic bonus for whatever spell you're trying to do onto them, and then they get to try to roll to defend against your magical DR. If it's a fighter, more than likely he doesn't have a good bonus versus magic. So it's harder to defend a magic attack if the person defending isn't, because they don't have the bonus, and their DR is higher. So it's like this scaling back and that is basics of how the role-playing game of Avera works. It's super bare bones. It's just purely just a skeletal system just to roleplay. That's how I see it. There's more to that. There's also skills that are more powerful that does more than 1 damage or more than 1 condition. And conditions aren't just, traditional, you do 2d6 damage. No, its condition can be anything from slashing condition, pierce condition, to a blind, to not healed. That'd be taking a condition, taking one of those conditions. Like that's the dynamic I'm talking about, where it's like if you heal somebody, it gets rid of like wounded conditions, but it doesn't get rid of like blinding conditions or exhausted conditions. So it's a little bit more nuanced in the status effects. But it's also, you can just you can go as deep as you want, and you can go as light as you want with that stuff. And that, my friends, is my short 10-minute video on how D&D Avera works. This is definitely the first time and not the 5th time I've done this. Transition. End it. End me now.